I want to teach them boxing. I want them to understand it contextually. Whether they ever decide to step in a ring and bite down on a mouth guard is totally up to them, and that's ever my expectation. But I will not bastardize boxing as a coach. I won't do it.
Good.
And I've turned people away, because I'm like, I know what they're looking for. They're looking for, just patty cakes. And I'm like, no, I'm going to stop you and I'm going to coach you and we're going to do it my way or we're not going to do it at
Right.
all. And I think that at no point would anyone that's worked with me, I hope, say that it wasn't still fun. I'm not trying to suck the fun out of it, but I'm actually trying to make them have more fun with it because we're being pure
Right.
to boxing. Mhm.
Well, once you're more, I think same thing with like any athletics situation, whether you're just a guy going to the gym lifting weights or you're literally going into any gym whatsoever and trying to learn a sport or the craft or a science like it was boxing or MMA or whatever it is, once you get it down, you can start having fun with it. But you have to get
Mhm.
all of your bad habits out of the way so that you know what your form is, you know where you're supposed to be,
Absolutely.
you know where you're supposed to be here, there, and the next place, as opposed to, oh, I think I'm going to be here. Oh, I got hit in the face. Oh, I dropped the weight or whatever it is. Once you get
Absolutely.
it down, then the fun can really come in.
Yeah, I always said like fundamentals over complexity, right? Like,
Yes.
and that is simplicity. So simplicity before complexity. You need to master. I think oftentimes where people really plateau in boxing, as just like a gen pop kind of client, is the coach doesn't bother to take the time to teach them the footwork. And if
Yeah.
you don't know the footwork, you will never progress. And unfortunately, because the foundation is the feet, right? But
Yep.
the footwork part's fucking boring. Like it's if someone's there to like lose weight,
Yeah.
sweat, and they want to do that through the modality of boxing, I mean, power to them. But I was always like, no, we're gonna learn the footwork first, and we're not even gonna hit anything for the first week. You're gonna be standing in a mirror and using the
The
line,
dance
and
class. Yeah.
exactly, and it's not sexy. It's right. So people get bored, they throw it out the window. The coaches want to just satisfy the client's need to sweat and move, and then they end up with the patty cakes part, and they miss the footwork part, and then they will get eventually very plateaued and progressing in their boxing. And for some people, I guess that doesn't matter, but for me, I just always, I wanted people to get better at it and
Exactly.
have fun and still sweat and all that
Yes.
stuff. But I thought we're doing the boring shit first. I'm sorry. Like
You have
we are,
you have to,
you know.
yeah. No, it makes
Yeah.
sense. I mean, again, you gotta get that form down right. And like you said, it's all about the footwork. As much as, yeah, you want to hit somebody else and you want to hit a pad, you want to hit a bag, you gotta get that footwork down first. If your footwork's not down, then you're gonna hit
You're
incorrectly
in
and it's
trouble.
not gonna work. Yeah, that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Quickly.
Yeah. Well, you talked about earlier, you really have enjoyed your evolution into the promotion side of it. Touch
Mhm.
on that for us real fast. Like, how did that even happen? And obviously, how much better does it feel being on that side of it?
Yeah, I mean, wow, what a ride, and we're still sort of in it. It's changed
Yeah,
shape
of course.
over the last couple of years. So I was still in LA at the time, and I was planning to come back to Canada because we thought the world was ending, and I was like, well,
Right.
I guess to be close to mom and dad. I don't
Gotta be
know.
home.
So yeah, um, and I got a call from a friend at the time who, was like, "Hey, I've got this, business plan. I want to put together, the Avengers, and we're going to bring boxing back to BC.
Awesome.
And we're gonna do it a way that no one's done it before." And I thought, "Fucking wicked! Sign me up. What do you need from me?" And so at that point in the time, we were building, the Avengers, right? So everyone sort of had their thing that they did, and there was a silo that we all sort of fit into, with some crossover skill sets. And at the time, I was brought on the team to help them produce, record some, like, basically like their COVID, backup plan of online boxing training. So we were planning to develop and launch like online camps, online skills, boxing fitness, that kind of stuff. And so that I was the on camera, I would program it, I would film it, that kind of thing. That was my primary objective. And then when it came to actual show time, of course, whatever needed to be done, and mostly from a media side of things. So when I got back to Canada, we basically launched that right away. It was called Seconds Out Boxing and Fitness. I think we filmed about 63 classes or something. Yeah,
Whoa.
I know I aged in that time, let me tell you.
It's
I aged.
a
I
lot
I
of
went
work.
through, oh my god, I went through more Lulus than I can probably afford to go through, and
And you were
it was a lot of,
sponsored at the time too, so that's a lot.
yeah, yeah, I was in mean shape at that time. Um, but it was, you know, we didn't end up really launching that as effectively as, we wanted to. But and at that time we were about ready to put on a show, and that was right during when things kind of got worse in Vancouver. So we were like back in it with
Mm.
COVID. So we ended up just having to pull some serious stops, and we did a completely pay-per-view show, which has some significant limitations, especially at the time with COVID.
Yep,
Like for a pay-per-view show to profit, you have to be UFC. Do you
of
know what I
course.
mean? Like,
Right, 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 right.
and we're like, this was our first show as Empire Boxing Promotions. We were launching to Pacific Northwest, like basically BC, and Canada wide kind of community of people that even knew us or knew the fighters on the show. So our market was so small.
Right.
So and we pulled out the impossible. I have It would take probably a whole other episode for us to talk about all the crazy shit that happens behind the scenes in event promotion.
Oh, I love
Um,
that stuff. Yeah.
but we survived. Every time we all get in the ring at the end of a show and we're like, oh my god, we fucking did it. Like, people, yeah, but the events business is difficult. I think people have this, notion that the promoters are just rolling out at the end of the night, counting our money in
No, God, no.
our
No.
Rolls Royces. And that was very much the climate that we encountered with, local boxers and stuff like that, really, really thinking that we're ripping them off. And I will give them, the credit to say that, it does happen.
Of
Boxing is a
course. Yeah.
shady world, as I'm sure, as an MMA promotion and across the board, there's
Look
lots
at
of
the
things.
UFC. Like the
Yeah.
pay discrepancy has been so ridiculous for since the beginning. Even
Yeah.
worse now that it's being put out there. And oh God, we've heard it from boxing forever too. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
Don King has the worst reputation for that, let alone any other boxing promoter. So, like, I imagine there's been so many, especially on the local side, like
Yeah.
no offense, guys. You're not making that much money. You're on the local side. Like even
Well,
MMA local guys, like pro wrestling local guys, like you're not making that much money. No offense, you should, but look at how many people are here. Look how many people maybe are not here. Like you also
yeah.
have to think about like you have to do backwards math. Like how much is it to pay this? How much is it to pay this? Blah 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 blah. Like yeah,
When people don't understand that, and I think, yeah, I mean, obviously, once you're like, you're big time, like, it's a different story. They have
of
so much
course.
sponsorship money that, that money should probably be allocated differently. And hopefully they have good managers and are negotiating good contracts. But on a local level, like, you're trying to sell like 800 seats for,
Yeah.
a Canadian boxer who's, 3-0 maybe. How many asses are you going to put in a seat? 20? 20? How many
Yeah.
people are going to buy pay-per-view? Maybe 20 more.
Right.
And we paid very well, considering, comparatively, to other promotions. We paid very well, and we still had to deal with a lot of diva isms,
Of course.
and a lot of just, people leaving with chips on their shoulders that didn't necessarily need to be there, which
Right.
is unfortunate. But all in all, I think, we did exactly what we set out to do. We did it, with integrity. We did it with style. We did it with a kind of an evolved look, and our shows were the best shows, BC since BC has seen since, like, Manny Sabral, is putting on shows. And it's an incredible experience. It's a harrowing experience.
Yeah.
Like I was alluding to, the amount of stuff that people have no idea. It's a miracle every time a show goes off. But it's a tough business, and I think we realize that the market up here in Pacific Northwest is so small. It's so small.
Oh, of
It's
course.
not. It's not a boxing city. As much as, Montreal is a boxing city, and that is sort of like the MMA and boxing hub of
Right.
Canada. We're still not even a boxing country,
Yeah.
really. So, we're trying to feed, people that aren't really hungry for it. in the way that we want to present it. So we're kind of focusing our attentions more on hopefully expanding to the US at this point. So we haven't put
There you
on a
go.
show in about a year now. And then we've just been working on building kind of the next level of the Avengers with like some of the connections that we're making down in the States. Barack Bess from the Boxing Bully from
Yeah.
Barack's show with the DAZN network. He's on our board of advisors now, as Roberto Diaz, who is the ex Golden Boy matchmaker for 15 years.
Right.
So there's some good guys. Jorge Linares, the former champ. So we're making all the right moves, but it takes time, and I do miss putting on the events because they were unbelievable.
Now, I want to mention something else that we've talked about a little bit before,
Hmm.
but I want to segue it into something that might change the way you might do things. So first, let's touch on this. I read that you are a blue belt in jiu-jitsu. Have you
Yeah.
gotten your next belt, or are you still a blue belt?
Yeah, still a blue belt
Okay,
in
okay.
jiu-jitsu. Yeah, I got my belt last year.
Congratulations, by the way.
I started jiu-jitsu. Thank you. I
Yeah.
started jiu-jitsu like it was in my living room with my boyfriend and Ben Dyson, who's from like the Roy Dean
Right.
lineage. We started in the gi in our living room during COVID, and so I've only been doing jiu-jitsu for, oh my God, like maybe two and a half
Holy
years,
shit.
three years maybe.
How
Yeah,
did you
so
get a
I'm
blue
hoping.
belt so fast?
Yeah, I you know what, I really I think it's just, I think there's an element of kind of fight IQ that kind of came
Um,
in from boxing maybe, and I hate pumping my own tires, but I am very athletic and very very strong.
we talked about it
So
earlier. You have to be able to put
yeah,
your own highlight reel together. So yeah, there you go.
yeah, exactly. So I think I did take to it quite a bit. Having said that, I'm looking forward to the day that I feel like I'm like, yeah, I'm a purple belt.
Yeah.
It's, I think there's those moments where you get confidence kind of rolling with the same people, and you're in the
Yeah.
gym, and you start tapping purple belts, you start giving brown belts a hard time, but then and then sometimes you just you catch yourself doing the same shit over and over, and then that's to me, I'm like, okay, yeah, like I still have so much to learn. And I think the coolest thing about jujitsu is I feel the same way about it that I did boxing, where I'm just like, this is amazing,
Yeah.
and I want to get better at this, and I want to learn this. But my sometimes I do lean on my instincts, like maybe a little too much, probably from my boxing influence, where it just comes into like, I'll just get scrappy with it. So I think I still have some to learn for sure. But I'm looking forward to maybe in the next, like 6 months to a year, we'll see.
Right. Well, I
Yeah,
mean, like you said, your dad used to try to put you in holds at 7 years old, so you are pretty used to defending yourself when it comes
yeah,
to stuff. Yeah.
yeah. And he's thrilled now that I'm doing jujitsu. My dad's a purple belt. He gave up jujitsu for like 15 years and
That's
came
awesome.
back in his 60s.
Oh,
And yeah, and so he's 63, and he's a purple belt.
I
And
love it.
yeah, so and he's thrilled that I found my way there eventually.
Well,
Yeah,
60 now and 60 is what we were growing up with is a completely different 60 too. So yeah.
it's true. And I'm telling myself that about 40 because I'm nearing it
Oh,
slowly.
I
I was
hit
like,
40 last year. I'll be 41 this year. You're taking care of yourself. You're making sure you're eating properly. You're obviously still working out. You'll be fine.
okay,
You might
okay,
get
taking
little
your advice.
injuries here and there, but yeah, the people who you might have around you that maybe you've had forever friend wise, they're getting more injured because they're not working out. They're not
Mm,
keeping themselves moving. And so they'll get all the little things. They're like, oh, I can't do anything for like 6 weeks because the doctor said blah, 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 blah. And it's like,
right.
well, you weren't really doing anything before. So what are you really missing out on?
Yeah, you didn't really have the prerequisites. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Okay, great. Glad to know
Yeah,
it's
you're
the
going to be
end.
in a good place. I promise.
Okay, okay,
Yeah.
good.
Plus, you're in a country where it doesn't matter what happens. You can go to the hospital and you don't have to pay anything. So
You're not wrong.
lucky you.
You're not wrong.
Yeah. So the thing I was thinking about, so I've had this thought process when it comes to pro wrestling forever that it's a buffet. You need a little something for everybody. And I
Hmm.
think we need to start seeing that more when it comes to maybe the combat world side as well. So maybe you put on a show where there's boxing and then there's also jujitsu. Maybe there's an MMA fight, just a little bit of everything. And I really want to touch back on this because we started it, but we haven't got back into it. You have
Hmm.
singing, maybe you have a comedian, maybe you even have a drag show, maybe you pro wrestling.
Hmm.
I don't know. I always think we need to go back to the vaudeville days where it's a little bit of everything for everybody. And it's not just like, Oh yeah, I'm going to this boxing show. We're like, I don't like boxing. I'm not going to go. Okay, cool.
Mhm.
Oh, I'm going to this, you know, combat sports spectacular where it's like a little bit of everything. You're like, oh, okay, I really want to try to see that. Oh, there's also maybe some comedy. Oh, there's also a singer. There's also whatever. Just
Mhm.
putting it out there. I
Mhm.
think there's a lot of great stuff in the Pacific Northwest that really could